Hello there everyone, this is Mark III coming at you with a vehicle up on the Steam Workshop, linked below, yes. And now that that's out of the way, let us continue, because I have no idea what I am doing. This is the AX-S1 Licorice, yes. From my rust removal series. This would have been like episode 6, but unfortunately I had problems with recording. So this is actually episode 1, because the 5 before it would have been me building this thing. So as a general theory, rust removal is I'm trying to get back in touch with building stuff in From the Depths. So I build stuff. I'm open to suggestions on the Discord and in comments, by the way. And I'll record and make episodes just like building the thing, and then I'll do an overview video of it, which will then be it fully named, which is, by the way, also in the Rust Removal Discord channel in my server, again, link below. And this will be up on the workshop for anyone who wants to poke and prod at them. So, the AX-S1 Ionian Experimental Submarine 1, also called the Licorice, because it was just like it was one of those wait what moments when Bappy suggested the name, so it's, you know, that's the one that won out. There we go, the Licorice. It is it's a cross between a light submarine and an escort craft. I think that's probably its most accurate description. It is a prototype, as mentioned, and it is flawed. I will admit to that one. It's not perfect by any stretch, but it is functional and has character all of its own. So that is why I am happy with it. So let us begin. The Licorice as a 17,400 resource submarine, 410 blocks total. It is capable of operating at 14 meters per second in calm waters on the surface, slightly slower if it's rough, like about 13.8, but it also operates at 12 when it's submerged. So it's not much difference between the two. It's just on the surface, mostly for appearance purposes, I must admit. Its main distinguishing features from the outside are the fact that all of its control systems are actually on these two skid arrangements on either side, lower down. It does help protect them a little bit, and it ensures they're in the water when this craft is higher up and on the surface. But it also means when the craft flips over, it can't right itself. It becomes like a turtle on its back. So yeah, if this thing gets rolled over on the surface of the water, it is pretty much out of the fight at that point. And also if we go underwater, as you can see, lots and lots of flare from the propellers. This thing is fully PID stabilized, by the by. Pitch, roll, and altitude control. But since that's in the way, I'll lift it out of the water for the moment. And as you can see, the other distinguishing feature on the outside is it's got a underslung prow-mounted propeller in addition to the main propeller at the back. The only other distinguishing feature is the fact that the radar buoy holders are on the outside as well. And that's about it. Though it does, I should probably mention, have repair pods. There's 4 in the nose, 2 in the back. There's also a repair beam on the underside to help it fix other craft. And also of note down here, which I will mention because it is a questionable feature, this is a jammer set to absolute minimum 100 strength. I'm not sure how those function, so it's there. But I will mention that on a craft this size and this design, it is placing a constant strain on the power supply, which is, by the way, this thing here. A measly 1-cylinder engine with double fuel injectors, no exhausts, but it does feature 16 radiators to keep it cool. Increases that fuel consumption by 4%, but it's an injector engine, it's going to consume quite a bit anyway. Not that really matters, because it has got, as stock, 8,000 fuel, so it lasts pretty well. Though having the jammer greatly increases its idle fuel consumption. I wish I knew how to turn those off, but I don't know how to, so yeah, there we go. So yeah, Tear that out if you don't want that there. I don't even know what it does, honestly. But it's there just for completeness sake. So let's ditch this thing back in the water. Off we go. Right. This thing is it's a hunter, really. It's meant to deal with lighter craft and groups of crafts. If the enemy has any kind of armor, it's not going to do too well, because this thing has 3 weapon systems, but they are light missile systems only, which does give it some drawbacks in trying to engage things. On the nose, we have 2 quad racks of long explosive torpedoes dealing over 3,000 explosive damage per torpedo. These are anti-submarine and anti-ship only. Let's give them the fact that they are torpedoes, but they do have a 2-kilometer range, so this thing can hang fairly far back and still lob these things around effectively. They're also pretty quick at just over 50 meters per second on the torpedoes, so that's pretty nice. Quite useful. Supporting these things and giving this craft some much needed anti-aircraft capacity is a top-mounted missile rack, which is a vertical launch frag missile system. Basically mini cruise missiles, but they orient themselves after launch and then fire their missile motors, so they won't get picked up by anti-missile systems before they actually get into the air and fire. So let's just go with that. Off they go. They are turning randomly because they don't have a target, but as you can see, a couple of seconds after launch, that's when the missiles ignite. So they are safely out of the water and pointing in the direction of their target when they go, and that's what they do. Yes, hello there. By the way, those missiles have a 40-second flight time, so they do last fairly well for a light missile. But they pack a fairly decent fragmentation warhead. Lastly, as a more of a supporting option, we have 2 racks of mini missiles, which is 8 tubes total, mounted again in the nose, so most of the weapons are in the nose. These guys are torpedo/missile hybrids. They are very lightly armed. They only have a single frag warhead on them. So there we go. And they fire in bursts, so just come on. There they go. There's a couple of seconds delay on all the underwater dedicated, the torpedoes and these guys. But as you can see, it fires off all 4, they scatter a little bit, and then they fly towards the target. Apologies for the splash there. And that's why they have a single frag each rather than explosive, because frag means they won't blow each other up. But they will go after anything that's not actually in space. So aircraft, ships, submarines, they're all fair targets for these guys if they're working properly. Part of the rust is I'm not quite sure, but there we go. I'm not quite sure about these guys because these guys carry infrared seeker tops, so that's an infrared on the side mounted, it's sonar on the nose mounted torpedoes, and radar guided for the vertical launch system. So we've actually got 3 different means of tracking things. Unfortunately, all 3 missiles, being self-guided, can be distracted by the right kind of decoy. So how effective that is, at least it's got options, especially against ships. If there's a ship, all 3 of these things are going to be firing at them, which is very painful for the ship involved. Unless it's got an annoying newfangled contraption called armor, because this ship doesn't have much that can punch through armor. Not going to lie. Moving on, while I just make sure my camera's unhitched. Right, for detection, this craft has port and starboard mounted active sonars. It has a dorsal mounted sonar, and it has prow mounted sonars on either side as well. To aid in working out how far away a target is, it also features 3 laser rangefinders, one in the nose which gets the left and right tracking, and one on either side which has unfettered view of anything forwards and above for the most part, as well as some coverage to the rear, but that's not that reliable back there, so it's very good at working out where an enemy is. For initial detection, it also has active sonar, 360 type, so just figuring out there's a contact in the general area. While also hidden inside it, let's actually get the view up for it. Let's get the internal view out. There we go. Right, it also has a wireless snooper mounted up here near the front. So it will, if there's something with wireless, it will find it. Also of note, it also carries a intra-vehicle transmitter, so if this thing has allies, which it should, well, actually it can function by itself for a prolonged period of time, but extra vehicles always helps. But yeah, intra-vehicle transmitter for sharing transmissions and targeting data with other friendly craft nearby. So it can do that as well, which is quite nice. Lastly on the detection list, we have the very obvious, though as so far unmentioned, radar buoy holders. We've got 2 on each side for 4 total, and we've got 4 because we've got in the very top of the craft here an additional launcher which carries 4 buoys, right, 1 per missile, and they also have flares as well because, well, we got the missile blocks there, might as well give them something to do. So yeah, we've also got a thermal decoy of sorts for defense. Again, not sure how well that's going to work, but hey, it's a thing. It's going to do something. I should also mention here that, as you can see, we've got a whole bunch of ACBs and fancy doodads, and oh look, there's an electric engine tucked in there somewhere. This craft is very tightly packed, but I will give you a general rundown. You've already seen the fuel engine up at the front. This is the ammo bay, which occupies roughly the rear third of the internal space. The craft's lack of armour, though, means if there's a solid hit in this area, the entire rear section of the craft is going to blow up, which is kind of bad, must admit. At that point, it's probably out of the fight, though this ammo reserve of 5,300 is enough to keep its weapons firing, and almost enough to keep them supplied with passive regeneration alone. Though that said, if you want to adjust this craft, you can tear this out, put in some ammo processors, and it'll work okay. It depends on how you want to go about it with this craft. Personally, I prefer to have passive regen for the bulk of my ammo situations, just so I don't have to supply materials to make stuff, you know? Anyway, moving up to the front, we have the AI core, which is about a quarter of the internal space-ish. It is somewhat beefy, but that's because this craft has a fair few detection modules around the place, plus the jammer mounted on the other side as well. So it's got 27 general processing, plus the AI cards, which are only naval movement and target prioritization. This craft does not need aim precision because it has nothing that's precision guided. Well, no precision weapons whatsoever. This craft can't target a specific block to save its life. It only uses self-guided ordnance. So yeah, there we go. That's where the AI core is. There is the intra-vehicle transmitter, the wireless as well down there. So it's got all sorts of doodads around the place for that lot. Mounted above it though, we have side-mounted shielding, which is actually angled slightly forward and covers the entire length of the craft. So that gives this craft some additional projectile defense. It is a strength 3 reflective shield, and it's close mounted as well, so all told the shield costs something like 80 horsepower to run, though it also has ACBs next to it which will disable the shields when there's no enemies, so it has a power saver mode there. Behind it we have the ACBs, which are the complex controller ACBs. This craft's controls are set for the complex controller up front, and that's my stock ACB set, which allows the AI to control it as if it was also using the complex controller. Though there is also below these, I think if I hit the Shift P again, yep, there it is, we have another pair around the PID set. This one reduces altitude down to 25 meters dive as soon as an enemy is detected, and this one will have it idling at minus 0.5 depth, so this is what keeps it surfaced. Let it drop back down. I'll also note that the shield and altitude ones are priority 1 compared to the disabling ones, which are priority 0. So as soon as there's an enemy, the shields will go on immediately and the submarine will dive immediately. It won't hang around on the surface waiting to get shot at, because that's probably going to do quite a bit of damage to it. So yeah, I think that's a general run around. Let's see, I've done the detection, I've done the AI core, I've done the weapons, I've done propulsion, I've done defences. The hull is, there's nothing to write home about really. The hull is on average like a half-metre thickness metal plate, at best. Some sections, like here near the radar decoys, only have a single panel stuck on the side, so you know, that's not very much protection at all. If this thing gets hit, it is not going to have a very good time. Though I should actually also mention as well the fact if you're taking direct control, you have this nice little cubby on the top here where you sit. It's completely exposed, so this vehicle is not intended for you to drive around personally. Not at all. Right, lastly, we have enemy testing. So let's go up first against the Atlas. Okay. We will let that spawn in. Craft realizes and it dives immediately while launching. Notice the flares are already going off because that auto fires if there's enemies nearby. But the missile volleys are also going off. The vertical launch missiles slamming in, and here come the infrared guided submunitions down there. We also launched torpedoes for some. No, wait, no, those are. Yeah, I don't think the infrared ones are working underwater. Might have to change those to just an anti-aircraft system. That's probably most likely. Blooming cannon recoil. Oh dear. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty light on the firepower. Admittedly, the Licorice is probably weak on. Yeah, it's pretty weak on the offense for its cost. But it does. It is well. It's a prototype. It does function as a fully functional submarine, and it can survive unless it gets hunted down by inbound guided torpedoes or stuff like that. So as you can see, the Atlas, it is slowly but steadily taking damage. The infrared guided ones miss, I think. That's a slight flaw, definitely. Having those side-mounted missiles carrying infrareds. Active radar seekers would have been a better choice. There's a volley from the vertical launch. But yeah, against a big airship like this, one Licorice is not going to do too well. Proof of concept vehicle, nothing else. Let's remove the Atlas. So yeah. Though that said, it did respond pretty quickly and it dives. It's just waiting to make sure there's nothing else inbound. Though it doesn't stop. It does stop moving, admittedly, but that's because I'm on it. If I was in a control vehicle somewhere else, the vehicle would just turn back towards me and keep driving too. So there is that. Yep, here we go. It's just lifting up to the surface and pop. There we go. Fairly happy. And it's just settling itself, so it's got its skids back in the water. Ready for patrol formation. Last enemy I'll spawn in for the quick combat test is going to be our good old friend the Marauder. My favourite punching bag. Dive, dive, dive. All weapons immediately launching. I should mention, by the way, all of the missiles are set to full salvo mode. The side-mounted mini-missiles / torpedoes burst fire because of lack of installation space. Though the other two all are set to full volley, so these launchers will only fire when they have a full rack of missiles ready to go. So yeah, as you can see, we are having quite a fun time. And yet, there's a rack of torpedoes hitting. Honestly, the Licorice is best against surface-mounted targets. Though again, any kind of anti-missile system would probably shut down most of its firepower, and anything with armour is probably going to get tickled more than anything else. But the Licorice is quite steadily closing in. I think those multi-purpose missiles need to actually be changed to just pure anti-air support more than anything else. Probably be more useful that way. Ah well. But the problem is they're side-mounted, so it causes a few issues there if they don't have any kind of torpedo characteristics. Oh well, I know what to do for the future versions though. But anyway. Yeah. It can deal with lightly armoured targets, preferably bigger ones, though the missiles can catch up with smaller targets as well. It's just if the enemy has guided weapons too, that's when the Licorice really struggles. Oh look, a cannon. It missed. So yeah. I'm going to call it there because I have spent like 20 minutes telling you about this craft, describing what it can do, and things like that. Though I might be changing up the format of the, not the building videos because that's going to be pure building, but maybe the presentation of these ones. I'm not sure what I'm doing just yet, but I do hope to keep doing rust removal in the future. As a reminder, the Licorice will be available on the Steam Workshop, link down below. You can suggest potential vehicles to try and build as I try and get my foot back in the water from the depths and try to work out how much I still know about building stuff. And if you want to be involved in suggesting names, then the Discord link is down below as well, and that is in the rust removal channel in the FTD section. Now you can also suggest vehicle designs and things there as well. This has been Iron Mark 3. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little look at my little prototype crafts. And I'll catch you all some other time. See you all later.